The New York Subliners have clearly shown that they're one of the few elite teams in the CDL, but is this one major problem holding them back from becoming true contenders? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unscripted, where today we will be observing whether or not the New York Subliners really have what it takes to compete for a major tournament this year, and as always, we'll be doing it off the script. Before we hop in, don't forget to leave a like down below if you enjoy, leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the New York Subliners and where they stand as a team right now, and subscribe to the channel as well if you enjoyed the video and want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I appreciate all of that, it means a lot to me, and let's hop right into the video. The Subliners are coming off two big wins at the Florida home series. They were able to narrowly take down the home team Florida Mutineers, and they were also able to take down the Dallas Empire, both 3-2 at big wins, big CDL points, and big momentum for New York going forward into this week where they would face off with the Toronto Ultra. So do New York really have what it takes, or are they being held back? Let's hop right into that topic and see what we can discover. The thing about New York is when you look at their team, they really are pretty deep top to bottom. They have a wide variety of guys contributing in every different game mode. Everybody pulls their own weight. They're not one of those teams where somebody has to be going off for them to have a chance. Maybe like Dallas with Shotzi, or maybe the LA Thieves with Kenny. Any of these guys can have a bad game, and they still know their teammates are there to pick up the slack. You see Mac, he's doing it. He's like the only person doing it in control. He has the highest control KD on the team, and he's also sitting in the hardpoint hill the most. And he is coming off 240 bombs against the Dallas Empire in hardpoint. So really a great hardpoint player, a great respawn player in general, and Mac is having a great year so far. You go over to Clayster. He's doing what the main AR is supposed to do. He's picking up the damage in both control and hardpoint. He leads the team in damage per 10 minutes. No surprise given the main AR role that he plays. Also the highest search and destroy first blood percentage. Not a surprise given the role he plays. But beyond that, you know, with Clayster, it's always about more than the numbers. There's the leadership. There's the communication. There's just the team chemistry he provides goes well beyond the numbers in his role. And his contributions do not go unnoticed, even if his numbers might not be the best sometimes. Going on to Hydra, I mean, what can you say about this guy? He's really been the person who's turned this team around this year. He has the highest hardpoint KD both on the team and the CDL since he has joined since the start of Stage 3. He also has the highest overall KD on the team. You know, his slaying power it speaks for itself. He's a terror on the map. He causes a lot of problems. He knows how to, he just kills everything. He's awesome. What can you say about Hydra? He's great. He has been phenomenal for New York so far. You get over to Asim, and of course, he's the route man. He is the guy doing the dirty work, making the plays. No surprise to see that his best work is done in Search and Destroy. He leads the team in kills per round in Search and Destroy, as well as overall KD in Search. So overall, all of these guys bring something to the table. They all add value, and that's what makes them one of the best teams in the league, because they can rely on all four of these players to play their role and play it well. However, when you compare them against the other top two teams in the league, you know, everybody knows the top three teams right now are the Atlanta FaZe and the Toronto Ultra, and of course the Subliners. When you compare their stats, it really becomes a toss-up. You know, New York stacks up pretty well with these teams, but there's one area holding them back, which I've been hinting at, which as you see on screen, of course, is control. Now, it's not as obvious here. These are just the team stats since the start of Stage 4. Small sample sizes, things can be misconstrued and misshown a little bit, but since the start of Stage 4, Atlanta FaZe are the best hardpoint team among these three, at least in terms of record. They are 5-0. New York and Toronto very solid as well. FaZe leading in Search and Destroy with New York right behind them, and then Toronto pulling up the rear. And in control is where we see the distance start to be created. FaZe and Toronto both undefeated, whereas New York 1-2. And if we go back one more stage and go since the start of Stage 3, it's even more apparent. You see here, I mean, New York, their control win-loss has just not been there. So we'll start at the top, though. There is good news for New York. They're 17-3 in hardpoint since Hydra joined up at the start of Stage 3, far and away the best team among these three and all of the CDL, not even close. Search and Destroy, they're not bad. FaZe is the best at 15-7 since the start of Stage 3, but New York not far behind, 11-7. Toronto 10-6. So New York does have the lowest win percentage in Search by a hair, but it's just that, it's by a hair, not very much. But again, control is where things are let down for the New York Subliners. Toronto 11-1 since the start of Stage 3 in control. Their only loss came to the Atlanta FaZe. Atlanta FaZe 13-2. At least one of those losses, maybe both, came to the Toronto Ultra. So these are clearly the two best teams in control in the CDL, and it has been that way for a stage and a half now. And that's really where the struggles come in for New York. I think, you know, it's good if, I guess if you want to have a weak game mode, you want it to be control. It's only played once in a 5-game series and twice in a 9-game series, but the problem is, these other two top teams, they have no weaknesses. It's not a requirement to have a weakness. So New York does have the right weakness if you have to have one, but you don't have to have one. Like Toronto and FaZe, they don't have one. FaZe, I mean, they're strong all around. Their worst record among the three game modes is hardpoint at 14-9, still very good. Toronto, same thing. They were a very good search team when they won the major in Stage 2. That has slowed down a little bit, but they are still a very good Search and Destroy team at 10-6 since the start of Stage 3. But again, you look at these teams, just think about the way New York stacks up against these teams. You have to almost figure New York is guaranteed to lose the control. So that puts them at a 1-0 disadvantage right away. Even if, I mean, they're a good hardpoint team, so they're definitely favored in the hardpoints, but there's no guarantee they're going to beat these teams in both hardpoints. I mean, FaZe and Toronto are very good hardpoint teams as well. So even just, let's say New York is able to split the hardpoints and go 1-1. Okay, now they'd be down 1-2 in the series, and they'd have to win both searches. And against good search teams like FaZe and Toronto, you cannot rely on yourself to have to win both searches. Or the other option is you have to win both hardpoints, which is probably New York's most likely route to victory. But again, no guarantee given that these teams are also good hardpoint teams. So sure, even if you give New York both hardpoints and you take the control from them, they still have to win both searches. And are they capable of doing that? They are, but is it likely? No, it is not. That's the problem with them. They really don't have a second game mode where they can rely on consistently enough to get wins. Of course, their hardpoint's phenomenal, but beyond that, they need to have a little bit more into their map pool and just their strength as a team to be able to win these other game modes, which search they're doing. I mean, they're not losing every search or anything, but the control is definitely a problem. There's no doubt about that. The good news for them, though, is that they have matched up with FaZe twice, actually 3 times since the start of Stage 3, and they've had some success. They went 2-1 in the series. Of course, the one loss was the most important one. It was the finals of the Stage 3 Major, but they were able to beat FaZe in 2 separate best-of-5s. They're losing the map count narrowly. It's 8-9 in terms of maps. Hard points and searches they're winning, which that's good news. I mean, they have to be able to win searches against these top teams because you see the control record down there. It's no surprise they are 0-4 against FaZe over these series in control. So let's just think of this from a 9-game series perspective because that is what the grand finals are. You play 3 hard points. If New York can take 2 of them, that's good. You play 2 controls, you got to figure they're going to lose both of them, so that would basically put it as 2-2, and then they would have to win 3 out of 4 searches in order to take the series. So again, possible? Yes. Likely? No. That's where the issue comes in. They have to be able to win at least a control in these 9-game series, and ideally win at least 2 searches. This way, the way they're playing now, they basically give themselves 0 margin for error in hardpoint, which so far they've been pretty successful. They have not had much error in hardpoint, but they're going to have errors against the top teams. It's just the way it goes. They can't be expected to win every hardpoint. You see there against FaZe, 4-2, or 4-2 in hardpoints against FaZe since Stage 3. That's good, but that only comes out to 2 map wins out of 3 in a 9-game series. So they have to get wins elsewhere. It has to come at least a little bit from control, and then of course search and destroy. Now the Toronto Ultra, on the other hand, they have not matched up with at all since the start of Stage 3. But they do play this weekend, and that is really going to be a huge match to determine who is the second best team in the CDL. I think everybody knows that FaZe has that #1 spot on lockdown for now until somebody knocks them off. And when you look at the odds makers for this one, they see a very close matchup. It's basically a toss-up, both teams -115 to win the series. But again, the odds in the individual maps really speak for themselves. New York, -170 in hardpoint. They're a decent favorite, and that, again, not a surprise. We know how good they are at hardpoint. But they come back as underdogs in both search and destroy and control. So, like I've been saying, I sound like I'm beating a dead horse now. But hardpoint only makes up two maps. They still have to win the other 3 or one of the other 3 maps, and they are not favored to do that against Toronto. So, can they come out and can they beat Toronto? Sure they can. They can easily win a search and win 2 hardpoints. But if it comes down to them having to win that control to really have a chance at the series, you can probably forget about it. I don't know why Toronto is only -150 in the control. I think they are way more likely to beat New York in the control than they are in searches. I think that should be a bigger number. So you give New York, just say you give them one of the hard points and a search, they still have to get either both hard points or both searches because they have to be able to win control. And until they can do that, I don't think you can call them the #1 team in the league. I think if there are 2 teams that don't really have any major weaknesses, sure, Toronto, for an example, they might not have a strength to the same degree that New York has their hardpoint strength. Okay, you can give them control, but that's only 1 map. They don't have a 2-map strength the way New York does, but they also don't have a glaring weakness like New York does. So that's sort of the conundrum for New York right now. They just have to be able to win some controls against these top teams in order to really be able to consistently win. Again, can they beat FaZe? Can they beat Toronto? Sure. But over a 9-game series or at a major or consistently, can they beat these teams? I don't know because they just have not been able to do it consistently in any mode beyond hardpoint. So we will see how it goes, but that is how I feel about New York and Toronto right now. I think New York definitely the 3rd best team. They have an argument for 2nd, but until they can win some controls or take more searches, I cannot have them at the #2 spot. So we will see. I mean, I'm sure the team knows their weakness is control, and they have to really pick it up, but they have not been able to do that so far. So until they do, I think they hold down the #3 spot. So that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like down below if you enjoyed. Leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the New York subliners right now, where they stand and how they stack up against the other 2 top teams. Subscribe to the channel as well if you enjoyed the video and want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I appreciate all of that, and it does mean a lot to me. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had a good day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.